All right, Doug, just kind of give us a general background of what you do.
Yeah, I have been in marketing communications for almost 20 years now. I worked at several different organizations over the years for United Way and Chamber of Commerce and even a little bit of corporate work. But primarily, it's been in marketing communications and associations.
Hmm.
Uh, Specifically, right now, I'm working for Utah Association of Counties as their communications director
Hmm.
and have oversight of marketing, communication related things, website and newsletter and various other um, related areas, public relations. Looks like my phone's kind of sliding down a little bit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's all right. Listen.
So yeah, I've my background is in marketing communications. My degree from Weber State University in Ogden, Utah, is in communications, public relations emphasis.
And how did you go about transferring that to the dental hygiene world? I saw your article. I think the first time I heard about you was the Hygiene Town article you wrote.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of know your story, but just kind of tell us the story how you got into it.
Well, yeah, it was kind of the dream of my wife to be a dental hygienist. She's always wanted to do that ever since, I shouldn't say always, but ever since high school.
Hmm.
She'd been a dental assistant in high school and kind of got excited about that as a career possibility. And it looked like a great type of a job outlook. Everything just great pay. Everything looked really good. So she just decided that that was what she wanted to pursue. And so we originally went to a community college in Idaho, where we both graduated with our associate's degree. And the plan was to go to Weber State University in Ogden, Utah. For both of us, they had both of our programs, and so she was going to finish dental hygiene and do that there, and I was going to do public relations, which I did do.
Hmm.
She ended up deciding that, well, we both wanted to have kids, we both wanted to have a family, and so she decided, well, I'm going to put my career on hold a little bit so that we can get started on that fairly while we're still fairly young,
Hmm.
and have our kids out of the way while we're young, and she did that, and until about 2000, and we had four children in the meantime, and then in about 2008 she decided, well, actually it's probably about 2006, she decided she needed to start upgrading a couple of her classes. You had to take some of those core required classes within 5 years
Right.
of starting hygiene school. So she took those in the meantime while our last child was still really young, and with the intent that she would, as soon as our youngest was in kindergarten, she would be able to jump into dental hygiene school, which it just, I mean, it happened exactly as we planned, and so she jumped in 2008 and into dental hygiene school at Salt Lake Community College, and then in 2010 she graduated from there.
Hmm.
And that's where I kind of come in the meantime, I had been building up lots of experiences in marketing, communications, and various things, and we had always thought that when she graduated from dental hygiene school, it was just going to be fairly simple for her to find a job. She'd just kind of walk right out, and people would be there ready for her. But it didn't turn out that way. It was very, very difficult for her to even get temporary work, and so we with that in mind, it kind of dawned on me one day that what we needed to do was to really help her market herself much better than she had done and she'd been taught to do in dental hygiene school. And so we put together a plan. We put together a much better looking resume. We put together a website. We put together some postcards, a resume video even.
Hmm.
Just really went to town on marketing her as a person who is really mature, stable in life. Our kids were grown. She wasn't going to be having any more children, and that's just kind of how we positioned it, and it really took off. It turns out that hardly any dental hygienists were doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So as we were talking to other people, as we talked to other hygienists and other dental assistants and people, they were like, wow, those are some really great ideas and things that you were doing there. And
Mhm.
I mean, it worked really fast for her. Once she did all those, she was able to get a job within about a month and a half.
That's pretty
And
impressive.
yeah, I mean, normally it was taking about 5, 6 months to be able to find work. And so, I mean, she did have that period where she wasn't finding work, but it was only because she wasn't marketing herself. She was
Right.
just kind of doing what everyone else was doing, and
Mm.
kind of just hoping and praying that she'd be able to find something, and it just wasn't happening real quick. So I got involved, and that's how I helped her out. And then after that, after she got the job, I got to thinking, maybe this is something that I could share with other people. And so I wrote the book, Landing a Great Dental Hygiene Job, and put that out there for all of the program directors across the United States of the dental hygiene programs, and just say, hey, here's a free book and some information that might help your hygienists that are graduating be able to market themselves a little bit better and know how to do that.
Mhm.
So turns out that there was a lot of interest in it, and it just kind of took off from there. There was just one thing after another. Pretty soon, people were coming to me and saying, "Hey, can you help me with this or help me with that?" And I have a full-time job. I have other things that I'd like to do, but
Right.
this just seemed like something that I was able to help them with,
Mhm.
and the principles that are involved in marketing yourself for a job are very similar to what you do and what I do every day in marketing communications for membership associations and for chambers of commerce and the United Way and et cetera. So it's translated very well, and the one piece that I've needed, of course, is the knowledge of dental hygiene. The language that you all speak, and
Right.
and there is quite a language to it, and but I picked that up quite a bit. And
Yeah.
just talking with my wife when she comes home from work every day, we don't talk about my work. We don't talk
Right.
about what
Yeah.
I did. We
Yeah.
talk about what she did, and I get so much out of that. She talks about all the different patients that she
Right.
saw and the different probe depths and this and that
Yeah.
instrument she had to use and this number of tooth and that number of tooth. It's really helped me a lot and be able to help other people to be able to translate what the language is in the
Mhm.
industry onto paper for their resume and for their other materials to market themselves. So that's kind of how I got involved, and
Mhm.
it's kind of taken off from there. I mean, the business has been exploding. The last 2 or 3 months, I've tripled the number of people I've been helping,
Mhm.
and almost to the ceiling, really, of how much I can do. But I'm looking right now for lots of different ways that I can make my processes more streamlined and more efficient, and finding a little bit of time to help and take on a little bit more. But yeah, it's been a kind of a fun little hobby, I guess you could call
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned, Doug, 2010. Obviously, that was 2 years after the big crash.
Yeah,
And when I graduated, and for many years before that, it was pretty easy to find a job. I don't think hygienists really had to market themselves, especially where I
right,
live in the Boston area. I mean, in 2007, if you were breathing, I mean, they would hire you basically, right? If you had
right,
if you had a license, then they wanted you.
right.
Um, so I think for many years, hygienists didn't really have to think about marketing. Um, so for many, it's kind of a new concept, you know, to find a job.
Right.
And most I would say most of the effort is marketing. People might think like, oh, I have a license, I'm qualified. They know that. So I mean, what else do they want to know? Beyond my clinical skills. But can
hmm
you kind of talk to a little bit about the importance of marketing? How much, how,
Yeah, it's a difficult thing for a lot of people. They don't want to talk about themselves in glowing terms. Most people don't. I mean, there's
yeah,
always a few that don't have a
yeah,
problem with that,
right.
but but for most hygienists, and this is one of the things I really appreciate about them, is that they are the salt of the earth. They really are humble people that really want to genuinely just help people, and they don't see themselves as salespeople, as
Right.
marketing people,
Mhm.
and but that's kind of what you have to kind of put that hat on a little bit and be able to know how to promote yourself a little bit, because if you just basically do what everybody else does, then there's really no way for a dentist or an office manager to know how you're different in any way. One of the key things that I teach dental assistants and dental hygienists in my classes that I teach here locally and also at the Hygiene Town conference is that you really have to figure out a way to differentiate yourself,
Right.
just like a product. Say Diet Coke, for example, they figured out a way how to differentiate themselves from Diet Pepsi.
Hmm.
Every product has to do that. You have to figure out what it is that makes you unique or special or different, so that people can say, okay, that's something I want because it's different and
Right.
it's fits me. And so that's some of the exercises I take them through,
Hmm.
and it is important. I mean, you just can't be like everybody else and expect to have someone come along and say, oh, you're the perfect person for the
Right.
job.
And especially, with new grads, they're pretty much, as far as clinical, they're pretty much on the same page level, I guess.
Right,
So you have to stand out for other reasons,
right, right.
personality, work ethic, whatever,
Right. Yeah. All of the things that dental hygienists do are pretty much the same or very similar. I mean, you may have a person who knows how to use lasers or a
Right.
person that is anesthesia certified, whereas another person isn't in the
Mhm.
case of some. But you've got to find other ways to stand out because the general job duties and responsibilities just aren't much different. So.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, so I want to kind of get into some of the things you already mentioned, the postcards and the video resumes and all that, and the stuff you mentioned in the book. Um, you kind of started off talking about building a dream job, like in the beginning of the process. Can
Right.
you talk about that and why that's important? Kind
Yeah,
of have a dream job in your head. Yeah.
I think I like most people have read the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People from Stephen R. Covey,
Mm.
and one of the things that they talk about in that book is to begin with the end in mind. You've got to know ahead of time what it is that you're looking for in order to find what you're looking for.
Right.
Uh, you've got to be able to kind of map that out, at least mentally. I tell people to put it down on paper so that they kind of can look at it and it can resonate a little bit more. I think that helps to be able to recall it better as well. But you really need to know exactly what kind of a salary you want. You need to know exactly geographically where it is that you're willing to work.
Hmm.
You've got to know what kind of a hygienist you want to be. Do you want to be the one that goes and does half-hour patient rotations, or do you want to be one that's a full hour? Do you want one that you have to work with an assistant? Do you want one where you are one of 5 or 6 different hygienists? Some people just don't like that kind of stuff. They would prefer
Yeah.
to be on their own, or
Hmm.
maybe just with one other one. And so you really, or multiple doctors even. There's
Right.
just a lot of different variables in the dental hygiene jobs, and so I tell people you've got to know ahead of time what you want so that you don't waste your time
Hmm.
looking for jobs that you're ultimately just going to reject or that you don't want or that aren't going to be a good fit for you, you're not going to be happy with. Just so that you can save yourself that time, and because marketing and at least some of the tools that I tell people to do cost a little bit of money, you want to make sure that you're using your money efficiently.
And I know a lot of hygienists are probably thinking, the job market is very tight, and I'm pretty desperate at this point, and I'll just take any job that's available. But
Right.
that's not really a good plan, because
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't want to go into a job that their philosophy is totally different from yours,
Right.
or go in with the attitude of, well, as soon as I find something else next week, I'm leaving.
Right.
It's not
Right.
really fair to the employer either.
Right, right. You want to be intentional about what you're doing. You want to make sure that you're looking for something that is a good fit and that's going to make sense for you. It doesn't do you any good to jump around from job to job to
Yeah.
job. That's just a red flag on your resume
Hmm.
and doesn't even get you past into an interview because you've had so many jobs that you've had right off the bat.
Hmm.
I always tell people just try to find a good job. I mean, I recognize that at some point you may feel like you need to just take anything, and or you maybe have to take something where you just don't know everything about that
Right.
particular position or the employer, and that's probably okay if you're just starting out. But you really want to try to settle in and try to stick out with some sort of longevity with your first job or two, not be bouncing around.
Absolutely. So for hygienists that are out there that have been looking for months, and they might feel like they're kind of losing their skills a little bit from hygiene school.
Right.
Um, What are some of the ideas you have as far as trying to maintain your skill while you're waiting for a job?
Well, it can be a frustrating time for
Yeah.
sure. That's and the last thing you want to do is work for free, but sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yep.
Hopefully, if you have some kind of a volunteer clinic in the area where you can go in and hone your skills there, that's great. The best thing, of course, would be temping, and if you have a good relationship with a temp agency and things are working out well with you there, you're able to get enough work, then that obviously is a good option as well. If you can
Yep.
handle the last minute calls and those kinds of things, adjusting your schedule and those kinds of things. Um, and then of course I tell people, with the postcards, you can basically become your own temp agency
Hmm.
for yourself. You're a free agent, so you can go and do some temping work that way in the meantime, in between jobs. I think those are good ways. I've even told people, in my world, in the marketing communications world, when you don't have enough experience and you need to kind of bone up on things
Hmm.
and keep your skills sharp, you go and volunteer your time. You find a good place that will accept you and allow you to practice your skill, and you just do it for nothing, and
Yep.
that's how you keep it fresh and I know a lot of hygienists don't necessarily like to hear that, but
Right.
that's the reality
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
the other two or three options don't work, that's really what you're down to.
And plus it's good for the resume too, because it
Right.
shows that you're really motivated and
It
you.
shows you're motivated, and it shows too the doctor that you're working for, or doctors. And I would handpick. If you're going to do this for nothing, if you're going to offer to do this for nothing, if you're just going to come in and even just observe, find the one that's closest, the one that you think might potentially you would want to work at.
Hmm.
Really start working those contacts immediately, and start networking yourself really well
Hmm.
in the offices that you could potentially see yourself in.
Yeah. And you also mentioned in the book about building a database of the geographic area that you want to
Right.
work in, and get a list of all the dentists and why that's important. Can you talk a little bit about that? Uh,
Yeah, that's probably the part that is the most painful.
yeah.
And for me, I didn't mind doing it for my wife. I went ahead and just went to town on it. You can find contact information for your dental offices online pretty easily. And
Yeah.
so what you want to do is you want to target that, figure out your radius of where you're willing to work, and then just start putting that information in. I've since come across some alternative solutions for people that just absolutely don't like to do data entry or do that kind of research. And that is, you could go on to a place like elance.com or Fiverr, Fiverr.com,
Okay.
and you can hire someone that'll do it, and you can do it very cheap. I mean, we're talking, less than $20 in some cases. They'll go through and find all that information, put it into a spreadsheet, and mail it to you.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
Yeah, it'll save you a lot of time, a lot of hassle, uh, and if that's something that you just absolutely kind of dread in data entry, then that's a good
Mhm.
solution for you. But it is really important that you have that list so that you can begin to market yourself through the postcards and through some other ways like through your online profiles and through social media.
Mhm. That's what I did in 2007. But even though it was pretty easy to find a job back then, but I did do that. I built a database in Excel in like a 15-mile, 20-mile radius,
Uh-huh.
and it just yeah, I mean, it took a while, but
It does,
and I just send the resume to pretty much every office.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I didn't
That's
have
the
the
way to do
ideas of the postcards or business cards at the time. I just used what hygiene school they taught us, basically the
it.
traditional resume and pretty
Right.
boring, white, no color.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for a long time that was the way to do it, and
Yeah.
and I still think that there are some reasons to do that on occasion, but we've found that with postcards they tend to save them.
Hmm.
Offices, if you have if they receive a dental hygienist resume, whether you drop it off in person or if you mail it to them, they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to throw it away because they don't need anybody and they don't think they're going to need anybody anytime soon,
Yeah.
or number two, they're going to file it away And in either case, they're going to not see it. It's not going to be around them hardly ever, and they're going to forget about it. And so the best way to do it, we found, is through a postcard where they tend to save those. They put them up on bulletin boards, or they keep them fairly close by, sort of like a business card, but a little bit bigger. And it's just a little mini billboard about you and about you serving them either on a temporary basis or on a permanent basis. I had a client that I finished working with last week. She wanted me to help her put together a postcards, a resume, and a website. We did all three of those. She sent the postcards out Saturday, so a week from today. And let's see, there was Memorial Day was Monday, so that was a holiday. Tuesday, nothing happened. Wednesday, she got an email, and the person said in the email that they were so impressed with her approach to job searching that they wanted to invite her in for an interview. They were looking for a hygienist.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. We hit the target. We hit the jackpot. But then the next day, guess what happened? 2 more people emailed her, and I haven't heard from her since. Maybe there's even been more. But she's had at least three people invite her to a job interview because she sent out this little postcard, and because it was something different, it was something impressive, and it looked professional, and they saw that she had the website too. That was part of it. The other part was the testimonials, and that's something I can talk about a little bit as well. They just thought the whole package was just a really professional presentation, and they were impressed and said, "Hey, let's jump on this." So I don't know what's become of it. I haven't talked to her in a few days, but and she's not the only one. I've had 2 or 3 others that have told me that they specifically got jobs because of their postcard that they sent out. Now that's in addition, of course, to my wife, and I detailed that out in the book.
Yeah, I saw I think it was your wife's you got a sample postcard, and on there it said seeking permanent or temporary positions.
Right.
Position, and that's good for the employer too, I think, because they have to pay a premium for the temp agency.
Right.
They can just pay you whatever the going rate is without having to pay that daily fee and all that. So if they're thinking like, oh, here's a person I can call for a temp, for a day or so, I'll post it up.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets your foot in the door maybe, and then maybe down the road they will be looking for somebody permanently. So.
Exactly. And the other, and I don't want to disparage temp agencies. They have a place for sure in this whole thing, and they helped my wife tremendously. I mean, the temp agency here in Salt Lake City was just fantastic, and they're great to work with. But one of the stigmas that come with those is that they have to be, if you hire the person that temps for you, you have to pay them a big fee on top of that as well. And so there are dentist offices out there who absolutely refuse to use a temp agency for that reason alone. They'd rather find it on their own than have to pay that fee. Whether you can call them tightwads or you can call them what you want, but that's the reality. They don't want to do that, and so by offering up this as a solution, you're taking that out of the equation. You're taking that barrier away from someone wanting to hire you. So I like I said, they have their place, and they can certainly fill an order better than one person can. If someone calls, I need a temp today, and you can't do it, you can't do it. The temp agency will almost always be able to find somebody that can.
And that's the benefit of a temp agency for the doctor, is that they can they make one phone call and they do all the work, and they'll find somebody at some point. Yeah. Right.
So I know they have their place. They absolutely have their place in the dental industry, but this is just a great alternative and a great thing, a win-win for 2 or 3, maybe 4 offices out there who just absolutely refuse to use a temp agency.
Yeah, and the cost of postcards, it's relatively cheap, right?
Yeah, much cheaper than I had thought originally. I had done some postcard mailings through my work, my full-time job, and knew that it was fairly inexpensive, and so I felt like it was something that was doable. For the Tracy's, for my wife's, we paid, I think it was like $55. We did the printing through vistaprint.com, which was about $20. And I think the postage is around $30 or so. I think it's gone up just a little bit since then.
Yeah.
But again, you put out $50, $100, $200 even. You can make that back in a day easily, and you'll very good chance that you'll be able to get at least one temping day, and oftentimes more than that. And in my wife's case, and several people's cases, they've gotten actual jobs, and you can't put a number on that. The return on investment on that, it's off the charts. So.
Hmm. And you can also do business cards at Vistaprint also, right? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Vistaprint's a great resource. They're very inexpensive, and I've been really happy with the quality that they've produced. When I sent that first set of postcards off, I was kind of thinking, oh my gosh, these are really cheap.
Hmm.
But when they came back, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good quality. I mean, I'm sure that there might be even a little bit better out there you could find, but I was very happy for the price that you pay. It's very, very good quality.
And what's the role of having a business card? Does it supplement the postcard, or does it play a different role completely?
Yeah, business card is more probably for if you go to conferences or
Hmm.
meetings, component meetings and things. You want to have those handy. I still say have a set of those anyway, just to hand the doctor after you're done temping, anytime you're done
Hmm.
temping or having an interview. It's just an added connection that they might be able to have and will save hopefully and be able to get a hold of you. It's not necessarily going to be the big as successful as a postcard, but it
Right.
is just it's a traditional thing that people use, and I think it's worthwhile to keep them, especially as inexpensive as they are.
Exactly. Yeah. And you mentioned creating a website. I know it's pretty cheap. Well, it's free if you use like WordPress or something like that, and it's pretty
Right.
straightforward, very basic. I mean, if you can use a computer basic software, it's pretty easy to create.
Yeah.
And you can talk about that and then why it's important to have a website and how that helps.
Well, the website it is cheap. It's not nearly as expensive as it used to be. WordPress, as you mentioned, is free. There's other websites out uh, web hosting sites. Wix.com is another one that offer a free solution. You just can't have the best URL. Like you can't
Right.
have tracyperry.com unless you pay something for that. That costs a little bit, but even that doesn't cost much. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking $20 for a URL or less, and for the website, you can do that for free after that. So it can be a very inexpensive. It can be much more if you want. You can always put more money into it, of course, but
Hmm.
it doesn't have to. So why do it?
Hmm.
The reason I had Tracy do it again, getting back to the whole marketing thing, is you want to differentiate yourself. You want to make yourself stand out and be different. And that was an obvious one to me that she could do, that I could help her with, that would make her stand out and be different. Nobody is going to have, not very many people are going to have a website, and it's a very easy thing that you can embed in your emails when you respond to ads for job openings,
Right.
or even if you're a little bit more aggressive and you want to send out some emails just saying you're available as a temp, just like a postcard, only it's an email. You
Hmm.
can embed a link to that website in there. And the cool thing about that is it's just the curiosity of it, because so many people don't do that.
Hmm.
So people think, oh well, gosh, she's got a link to a website here. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just check this out. And then once you get them there, you can kind of further connect with them. I mean, it's really nothing much more than what's on your paper resume, but
Right.
you can offer up maybe a few more pictures and things that kind of help them connect with you a little bit better. Show them a little bit about what you do in your spare time, your hobbies and things,
Hmm.
and that helps them just see that you're a normal person.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of times what is their fear. 90% of employers who are considering to interview people are Googling their names ahead of time. So they're checking you out. They want to know what you're like, because they want to make sure that who they invite in for an interview is a normal person, is just not going to be someone
Hmm.
that they don't mix well with at all.
Hmm.
So they don't want to waste their time. And this helps them do that. This just helps them create those connections and be able to do that. Same with the
And,
resume video.
yes, I was going to mention that. How do you recommend creating that video? Should it be like just you talking, giving like a summary of your skills, or should it be like a? I was thinking something like almost like a stage, not stage like it's fake, but like kind of like a scripted interview. So almost like they're watching an interview, but you're like
Yeah.
kind of hitting all the basic questions they might ask you. Something like
Yeah, with Tracy's, we did script it a little bit. We told her exactly what we were going to be asking her. We wanted
that.
her to be able to think about that. And I actually wrote out what she should say, but I told her, don't say this the way I've written it out. Say it in the way you would say it. Say it
Mhm.
in your own words so that it seems natural. Because the last thing you want to do is just get up there and read something
Oh
that
yeah.
sounds like you're just reading something. That doesn't impress anybody.
Mhm.
You want to make it look natural. You want to make it feel natural. And so with a video, that's the whole key, so that you come across as a normal person and as a professional.
Right.
And you want to, yeah, with video, I tell people, and I've done a few videos with Dennis as well. I'm helping him create videos and others as well. And you want people to be as relaxed as possible. You want to keep the video as short
Mhm.
as you can. I would say no more than 40, no more than a minute, maybe a minute and 15 at the most, because most people just aren't going to watch something that of that type for very long.
Right.
Uh, and you don't need it to be very long for you to be able to get the impression that you want across. And just talk about yourself, talk about your hobbies, what you like to do. With Tracy, we actually had some footage of her in a clinic doing her job as a dental hygienist. I wanted people to be able to see her, be able to visualize her working for them, and that
Mhm.
was the whole point of that. But I also wanted them to see that she was a normal person, that she had kids. I mean, I know that that can be a little bit dicey because some people say that that's not, you can't ask those questions in an
Right.
interview. A person couldn't say, how many kids do you have? But it is, I don't think it's illegal to offer up information such as,
Right.
that I have kids,
Mhm.
here's my husband, here's my cat, here's my
Right.
hobbies.
Yeah.
You can offer those things up, they just can't ask you. And I think they appreciate the fact that you've offered it up so much of yourself because it helps them get to know you. It creates those connections.
Right.
Uh,
And you know, like most offices are small, and it becomes kind of like a family.
yeah,
So and it's
yeah,
a team effort, obviously. So people want to connect with you as a person. You know, they want to make sure it's somebody that's going to click with office family in a sense.
right.
You know.
Yeah,
So
the two most important things that I think employers look for is the ability to be able to get along with everybody and mesh well with all the personalities in the office. And then the second most, and probably equal in terms of importance, but how well they're able to connect with patients.
mhm.
That's just obviously, if you can connect with patients, you can and make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they want to come back, then you're going to be a successful hygienist. But also that important piece of being able to get along well with the rest of the staff and fit in,
Absolutely.
and as you say, be part of the family.
Mhm. And creating the video, obviously, you don't have to have a professional operation. I mean, you can literally use iPhone and
Yeah,
YouTube, which is free too, right?
yeah,
I mean,
right, exactly. Yeah,
mhm.
we used a flip video camera for Tracy's first video. Um, I For her second, I created a second one. I had my son create it actually.
Mhm.
It was more of a slideshow, which is even easier. You just take still pictures and basically put it into something like a PowerPoint or Windows Movie Maker,
Yeah,
add some music to it, and there you go. There's your video. But the first one, yeah, we used a little flip camera, and I could just as easily have used my phone that I have now. I don't My phone back then wouldn't have worked, but the phone I
right.
have now is actually really good quality Samsung phone, and could do that. You don't have to have expensive equipment. I just say put yourself in a natural place. Don't put yourself against a white wall.
Right.
And
Yeah.
make sure you do some testing. Test your voice out to see if it's clear and that it's coming across okay. And watch yourself so that you can see if you're conveying the way you want to, so that you're using the words that you would want to use, so that you're natural. The more you do it too, the more you feel relaxed and confident, and that
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
difference.
plus, you know, it's I mean, if you're using an iPhone or whatever camera you're using, just do it over and over again, you know, until
Right.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
no cost, just time.
Yeah.
But
Right. Just time.
yeah.
And I would imagine by the third, fourth, fifth time you would have it down so well that it
Mhm.
really. come across pretty natural.
Yeah. And something else I wanted to talk about, Doug, is the idea of, once you have a job, whether it's maybe like a long-term temporary, like maybe a few months or something like that, or even a permanent job, to not kind of get complacent with it and continue to be that person that stands out. Because even when things, if the economy is still weak, or if you're the last person to get hired in an office, and you're kind of mediocre because you kind of relaxed a little bit,
Yeah.
they might pick you as the first person to maybe cut hours back or let go. So
Right.
yeah, kind of talk about that. About like, I mean, once you do have a job, to be that ideal employee.
Right. Yeah. You always want to be looking for opportunities to shine and to stand out. And I've been telling hygienists, not nearly enough hygienists are saving information about themselves after they work. So, for example, if they do something that's really cool, or that they get some really good feedback on from a patient or from a doctor or from somebody, not hardly any of them are saving those comments or that feedback or those stories. They're just kind of saving them, or they're dismissing them. But
Mhm.
that stuff is great for resumes. And if you can save, your feedback, your comments, your stories of how you changed someone's life. I had one hygienist the other day who I was working with on her resume, who actually saved somebody's life. She spotted cancer, a malignant cancer on this one person. And told him about it and said, you really should go get that checked out. He went and got checked out, and it turned out it was cancer, and she literally saved his life.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that is just incredible in an interview setting, and if you can get that into your resume or your cover letter, it just shows that you care. It shows that
Yep.
you're the type of person that goes above and beyond, maybe what the normal person might do.
Mhm.
Um, but save that stuff. Don't become complacent. Always look for opportunities to continue to shine in your job, and look for things that you can do to add to your job to make yourself more marketable the next go around. Because you're right. I mean, we live in a very vulnerable economy where things can change just very, very quickly. And you
Yeah.
just always want to be ready. Always have your resume, up to date.
Mhm. I think one way to do it too is to get into blogging, if that's something that you would be interested in doing, like writing, um,
Yeah.
and just write about hygiene and what you do
Yeah.
and stories and yeah.
Yeah, that comes across as you being not just the normal hygienist, but a professional, one
Mhm.
that actually doesn't, they eat, sleep, and drink it. The person
Yeah.
that hopes to be able to write books on it someday, or be
Right.
able to lend to
Mhm.
some of the research that goes into it, not just a person that punches in and punches out every day.
Mhm.
And that's the type of person a lot of dentists want to hire. They want a go-getter.
Exactly.
So,
And plus, too, a lot of hygienists, including myself, we want to do something beyond clinical. I'm
right,
already kind of doing it, but a lot of hygienists, part of the reason too, because of the economy, they're kind of looking at other things they can do, but just in general in the future. So whatever thing any opportunities you have outside the clinic, or even in the office, if you get into maybe, I don't know, whatever, practice management, maybe helping out there, getting into that, all these things you can do while you're in clinic, and then maybe take that further down the road when you do want to get out of clinical, or at least maybe just part time out of clinical. So that
right.
so if you just stay stagnant in clinical and don't think about anything else, with your head down, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and it makes your job more interesting. I think. I
yeah,
think that's it's helped me in my own personal daytime job to be able to do all of this for dental hygienists. It makes
yeah,
the transition between the two it just makes it more interesting, more fun.
hmm,
Being able to do that kind of extra thing, those extra things, really adds
yeah.
to your career.
And I think I want to talk too about the concept of working for free. We kind of touched on it a little bit when we talked about maintaining your skills while you're looking for a job. But just in general, even if you're working full time, to do things beyond without thinking about getting paid for it.
Right.
A lot of people have the attitude of like, well, I'm not clocked in, I'm not doing it. You know,
Right.
you know. So it just seems like not just hygiene, but any career field, the people that are the top 20%, that are going after it, they do things on the weekend, stuff you do, like doing presentations and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you have to do stuff like that. I mean, you have to work for free.
Mhm.
Um, and I always think about like the old model is you go to school, you pay them, and then
Uh-huh.
like you graduate, and the next day somebody's paying you. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
either you're paying somebody to learn, or somebody's paying you to work.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in between. I mean, there's a
Right.
lot of like you working for free because being in a dental office gives you so much opportunity to learn stuff that you were paying somebody else for before. Like in school, you were paying to work on patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're already in an office with patients, so there's an opportunity to learn things without paying anybody. That's how I
Yeah.
kind of see it, but
Yeah. I think that's great.
yeah. I thought someone we already talked about a bunch of the stuff like business cards and postcards and websites. Um, you have a website. You already mentioned gethiredrdh.com and the
Yep.
book that you wrote. Can you talk a little bit about the services you do offer on the website for people for hygienists out there?
Yeah. Yeah. I on our website we have the a link on there that says I think it's called the uh, job hunting store is what it's
Yeah.
called.
Mhm.
Yeah, basically you can go there to purchase templates. I try to have something for everybody. So I've actually got okay. So let me back up. You go to the home page. There's a link there where you can get weekly tips for free. I don't charge anything for that. It's just information that I think will help somebody and help everybody prepare for looking for a job or getting into an interview, how to handle those kind of situations. That's all for free. Then I have something a little bit more. I have in our job hunting store, I have templates where people can download a resume that actually looks really good
Mhm.
and it has a little bit of language in there to kind of help them get started. Um, those are very inexpensive. They have those for both resumes and postcards. And then we have a little more of a upscale service, and it really isn't much in terms of price. People keep telling me you're way underpriced, and I trying to build, the
Yeah.
business up so that people know who I am and I can help as many as possible, initially. So I have kept my prices intentionally lower, and I know that. But
Mhm.
at any rate, the maxed out services would include things like me working one-on-one with someone to create their resume or their postcard, or in the case of this other dental hygienist that I worked with this last couple of weeks ago, a full-blown website. So we just have all those services that will kind of put together all of that for them. I also include a cover letter with all of the resume templates.
Yeah.
There's language in there that kind of help them get started. There's always a lot of customization with those, but at least it helps them kind of get started and show them the format. And it also, I try to, from a design perspective, aesthetic perspective, I try to match them up with the resume itself so that they look like they belong together as a kit.
Right.
And then just kind of a lot of encouragement and coaching on how to prep for interviews and various other things. I try to talk with them about that and make them feel like hey, this is very worthwhile what you're doing, and
Mhm.
you have every reason to believe that you're gonna get something soon. It's just you've got to put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort in, and we'll get you there. And
Yeah.
it doesn't get them a job. Nothing what I do gets them a job. It just gets their foot in the door, and for a lot of them, that's just what they need. There's so
Right.
many people outside the door. There's very few people with their foot in the door, and
Yeah.
that's the one thing I can do is help them get them in the door.
Mhm. Yeah, I had the same thought about the prices too. I thought this was pretty cheap. I'll say you probably charge more, but yeah, so
And I probably will at some
yeah,
point. There are other services out there for dental professionals that will create a resume for much more money.
yeah,
I don't think I'll ever get to where they are, but I do think I need to charge a little bit more. It's just right now I'm trying to help people, as many people as I can,
mhm,
and have as many success stories as we can, and we're having them almost every week now. I'm getting calls and emails from people excited that they got a job or this or that. So it is working,
Mhm.
it's just I'm trying to be patient with it and trying to help people as much as I can.
So is this kind of like a part-time thing for you right now, Doug, or are you trying to expand it quite a bit, or?
Yeah, it is part time. It'll always be part time. I
Yeah.
really enjoy my job in
Yeah.
marketing communications,
Mm.
and don't ever plan to grow this so big that I can't go back to do that.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I enjoy it, and I love the fact that it helps so many people. But I
Mhm.
still really love my other job too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I at some point I may have to get to the point where I'll have to just just say, okay, I can take this many clients per month, and that's it. And I'm almost actually close to that point.
Yeah.
I've taken on so many this last little while.
It's a good problem to have. You say I can't take
It
no more.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I'm like I said, it's exciting to do it. I love helping hygienists. It was a thrill for me to help my wife
Mhm.
to do that, obviously. But it's just as fun for me to do it the second, and the third, and the fourth, the fifth,
Yeah.
on and on, over and over again.
Yeah.
It's really
Well,
charged.
I think it's a great idea that having a marketing person outside dental actually is better because I
I
think,
think
yeah,
yeah, I think I mean, there's people out there who are in the dental field that know this stuff too, and I
mhm,
think they could do it just as well. But
yeah,
I haven't seen very many, so I guess until more of them show up to the game, then I'll stick around. But
hmm,
uh, yeah, there's not enough of them probably that know how to do it, and they don't teach it in college.
absolutely not.
Really
No.
they really don't prep a lot of the hygienists coming out of college how to do this stuff, and they may have a little course on how you create a resume, but they don't tell them how to use it and how to really
Mm.
beef it up like I think I do. So
Yeah, I mean, hygiene school and dental school, they don't emphasize even the business side of dental at all, you know. So a
yeah,
lot of, I mean, dentists especially, because a lot of them are going to own their practice, they get no training in business, you know.
yeah,
And I
and
was,
that's sad. That's
yeah.
really sad.
And because I would say to myself, like, if I were a dentist, I'm a hygienist, but I mean, being a dentist, you have to know a lot more, obviously, and to be like, imagine being in your late 20s or early 30s, and you're kind of a brand new dentist. And you get all that responsibility, liability, plus you have to run a business. It's
Right?
I
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, I've met more than one person in my field even who will get into marketing communications. They'll want to start their own advertising agency. They'll start it up and they'll be like, I don't get to do nearly the creative stuff that I want. It's all this business stuff,
Right.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
accounting. I don't want to do that. And so they end up holding shop and finding work for someone else. So
Yeah.
they go back to doing what they really love, and that's the hard thing. Is dentists are in a similar boat. I think they just think that it's all dental work, and I can go in and do crowns all day, or
Right.
root canals or whatever it is they do.
Yeah.
And there's a whole other side to it. There's the human resource side, the accounting side,
Yeah.
and uh, it's a challenge. I don't envy some of them for that. It's not fun for
And
my
plus,
son.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was thinking of, dentists and hygienists in general, or just the medical field. So people go in as it's a profession, well paid, pretty steady work. A lot of conservative personalities go into the dental field. Plus
Mhm.
the history, like we mentioned, of not having to market before, like they're just waiting for you, you know. So it's a kind of a new paradigm, at least in this time frame during the recession, to have to do all those things, and
Yeah,
it's tough, for some that don't have that or didn't expect it, when they chose
yeah,
that field, you know. But
it's an eye opener, I'm sure, for a lot of them.
yeah. All right, Doug. I think I hit all the points I had on my list. Do you want to close with anything? Any other points you want to make
Yeah,
about?
there was one more thing, a tip that I've been telling people lately, and I think it's really been working well. I'll just throw it out there too, and that is instead of using your references, a lot of people will go get a letter of reference, and those are great. You should keep those and have them if you have them. But what I've been telling people to create along with their resume and their cover letter is to have what we call a testimonial sheet.
Hmm.
basically just some pull-out quotes out of your reference letters, out of the feedback that you get, whether it's in writing or verbal feedback from patients or from doctors or coworkers or other hygienists that you know. Pull little quotes out of there, put them on a sheet of paper, and just kind of list them down the list. And if you've got a website, then have a page for that separate,
That's
and just put those on there. That third-party validation we're finding is really, really big, and people, dentists and employers really value that. They look at that and say, this is something that I was going to ask for. I don't have to ask for it now. They've got it right in front of me. I'm impressed immediately with the fact that they've given that to me up front.
right.
And it just makes you look more professional. I know it's a third sheet,
Hmm.
but it's an impressive one. I dare say that they may spend more time reading all of those quotes than even your entire resume or your cover letter, just
Yeah.
because it's something, again, that is different and it
Yes.
separates you, makes you look like you're very on top of your game. Uh, the
That's,
gal, the gal that just I was telling about earlier with the testimony or the postcards, she did that, and she put them on her website. And that's one of the things that the dentist that called her or that emailed her said was that was most impressive. And they said they read all the testimonials, and
yeah.
she had about 20 of them. She went just canvassed all of her friends, all of her contacts
Mm.
from her entire 15-year history as a hygienist, and put them all onto into this list, and it really worked. They called attention to that, the employer that was
Yeah.
considering hiring them right now. So
That's a good idea because I know with me, like if I'm looking at a product online or service and I see testimonials, even though people might think, well, yeah, they're picking the good ones,
right,
but it doesn't matter. It's still, I mean, it has an effect on me and I know it.
value it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
still value it, even though they may think it, and hopefully they don't feel like it's tainted or that it's
Mhm.
manufactured in any way, because you don't want to certainly get that reputation or convey that message, but certainly if you've got something like that, any kind of feedback that you get over your career, anything that you do that moves the needle at all for your
Right.
office,
Yeah.
save that information and keep putting that together in a way that will get in front of your potential employers, and that will make a difference.
Yeah.
I've seen it making a difference already. So
Absolutely. All right, Doc. So what's the best way to, if anybody wants to contact you, just go to the website, gethiredrdh.com.
yeah,
And
yeah, there's a contact page. They can email me through that. They can send me an email directly through, which is doug@gethiredrdh.com. And I respond usually very quickly, certainly within a day, and oftentimes within an hour or within minutes of someone emailing me. So I'm happy to do that.
all right. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
I'll have it posted in maybe like a week or so. I'll let you know.
Hey, great, thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it. Hey,
All right.
thanks.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.